Over the past day, units of Ukraine's artillery forces hit an enemy control post, 12 manpower and equipment clusters, 4 ammunition depots, and an air defense system. That's according to a war update, published by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Wednesday morning, Ukrinform reports. The enemy launched 3 missile strikes, 39 air strikes, and 63 times employed MLR systems targeting positions of our troops and populated areas. Civilians were injured, private residential buildings and other civilian infrastructure were destroyed and damaged, the report said. It is also noted that overnight Wednesday, Russian terrorists once again attacked Ukraine using Shahed-136-131st kamikaze drones. Information about the consequences of this attack is being clarified. The likelihood of the enemy launching more missile and air strikes across the entire territory of Ukraine remains high, the General Staff warned. The enemy continues to focus its main efforts on conducting offensive operations in the Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Mariinka directions where over 30 assault efforts were recorded. Bakhmut and Mariinka remain at the epicenter of hostilities, where Ukraine's defenders are holding their defenses. On the Volyn and Polysha axes, the operational situation has undergone no significant changes. No signs of an enemy offensive grouping being formed were detected. On the Severshina and Slobozhanshina axes, enemy artillery shelled the settlements of Hasaikivka, Yelin, Bleshnya, Karpovichi, Timonovichi, Leonivka, in Muraviev Chernihiv region, Zanab Novgorodsk, Uralov, Saradina Buda, Kucherivka, Rivne, Vorozhba, Volfine, Mykolaievka, Myropilya in Sumy region, as well as Veterinarn, Vilkivka, Hatish, Vovchansk, and Potokonov in Kharkiv region. In the Kupiansk direction, the enemy ran no offensive operations, actively flying UAVs to spot artillery fire. Krasny Persh, Fyholivka, Novomlinsk, Lyman Pershi, Kupiansk, Kislivka, Krokmuln, and Berestov of Kharkiv region were subjected to artillery and mortar shelling. In the Lyman direction, the enemy launched offensive efforts in the area south of Dubrova, sealing no gains. Makivka in Luhansk region and Bilohorivka, Verkhnekamiansk, and Spern in Donetsk region were hit by artillery fire. In the Bakhmut direction, the enemy continues its offensive. Fighting continues for the town of Bakhmut. In addition, the occupiers attacked, with no success, in the direction of Ivanovsky and Predtekheim. Vasyukivka, Orikovo-Vasilivka, Novomarkov, Hurahorivka, Kromov, Bakhmut, Ivanovsky, Chasev Yar, Kostiantinivka, Predtekheim, Dilivka, and Pivden of Donetsk region were affected by enemy shelling. In the Avdiivka direction, the enemy carried out offensive actions in the Pervomaysk district of Donetsk region, without gains. They also shelled Novokolino, Avdiivka, Severn, Tenenk, Karlivka, and Netailo. In the Mariinka direction, enemy attacks were repelled in the Mariinka area. Krasnohorivka, Heorhivka, Pobeda, and Novomikhailivka of Donetsk region came under enemy fire. The enemy launched no offensive moves in the Shakhtarsk direction, while shelling Novokranka and Prekostivka in Donetsk region. The enemy remains on the defensive in Zaporizhia and Kherson directions, having opened fire at more than 30 settlements. Among them are Vremivka and Novosilka of Donetsk region, Hulyapol, Bilahirya, Malotokmichka, Novodanilivka, Novoandriivka, and Kamiansk of Zaporizhia region, Nikopol in Dnepropetrovsk region, Zolota Balka, Dudchiny, Kachkarivka, Vesel, Elvo, Ivanivka, Mykilsky, Antonivka, Dniprovsky, Kizimys of Kherson region, and the city of Kherson. According to the General Staff, the Russian occupiers continue the process of forcible issue of Russian passports in the temporarily captured territory of Kherson region. In order to accelerate the process, the invaders are conducting demonstrative raids aimed at intimidating the local population with possible deportation and alienation of property. A convoy of empty buses, accompanied by FSB operatives, drives across settlements to inform residents, referring to the decree recently signed by Vladimir Putin on the deportation of non-Russian citizenship from the occupied territories, set an ultimatum: either they renounce their Ukrainian passport in favor of a Russian one or they are immediately evicted from homes and their property gets seized. In the past day, the Air Force of the Defense Forces carried out 8 strikes on enemy manpower clusters, while rocket and artillery units hit a command post, 12 clusters, 4 ammunition depots, an air defense system, and 1 more important enemy target, summed up the General Staff. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces reported on May 3 that Russia had lost 191,940 troops in Ukraine since the beginning of its full-scale invasion on February 24 last year. This number includes 520 casualties Russian forces suffered just over the past day. Fierce fighting near Bakhmut and Marinka. Ukrainian forces repel over 20 assaults, preventing Russians from breaching Ukrainian defenses, General Staff report. Russian occupation forces are focusing their main efforts on conducting offensive operations on the Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Marinka fronts. Ukrainian forces repelled over 20 Russian assaults over the course of the past day. The most intense fighting is currently underway in Bakhmut and Marinka, where Ukrainian forces are holding the line. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Facebook. Information is of 1800 on the 2nd of May. Details: over the course of today, Russian forces carried out 3 missile strikes, 30 airstrikes, and deployed multiple launch rocket systems (MLRS) to conduct 8 further attacks on the positions of Ukrainian forces and on civilian settlements. Several civilians were injured, and a number of private residential houses and other civilian infrastructure facilities sustained damage. There is an ongoing threat of further missile strikes and airstrikes across Ukraine. There is no evidence that Russia is forming offensive units on the Volyn and Polishcha fronts. Russia continues to maintain units of its forces in the Republic of Belarus. On the Severshchina and Slobozhenshchina fronts, Russian forces are also continuing to maintain their presence in parts of Bryansk, Kursk and Belgorod oblasts, Russia, near the border with Ukraine. Throughout the day, they deployed mortars and artillery to fire on Hasaikivka, Yelin, Bleshnya, Karpovichy, Timonovichy, Leonivka, Muravik-Chernihiv Oblast, Zanob Novorodsky, Uralov, Saradina Buda, Kucherivka, Rivne, Vorozhba, Volfin, Mykolaievka, Myropilya, Sumy Oblast, and Veteranarn, Vilkivka, Hatish, Vovchansk and Potokonov Kharkiv Oblast. The Russians did not undertake offensive operations on the Kupiansk front. They deployed mortars and artillery to fire on Krasny Persh, Fyholivka, Novomlinsk, Lyman Pershi, Kupiansk, Kyslivka, Krokmeln and Berestov Kharkiv Oblast.